to keep her whole family alive. A woman disguised herself as a man. In this country, women are forbidden to show their faces in public. If her secret was discovered, she would be sentenced to death on the spot. The girl taking this terrible risk was named Amma. Women here have the lowest social status. A woman cannot go outside without a male guardian, otherwise she commits a serious crime. A family without a man loses all access to food, which means certain death. Amma's mother was a widow. She used to work as a hospital nurse, but the hospital was in terrible condition. They couldn't even pay salaries. There was no oxygen for patients. One day her mother took Amma to the streets. Women with covered faces were protesting. They only wanted the right to work. Many men had died in the war, leaving countless women as widows, but their cries for help were met with violence, not jobs. Militants attacked them with water guns and bullets. People began to flee in panic. Fortunately, a stranger saved Amma, but she accidentally exposed her feet. Men on the street shouted at her angrily. Back home, her mother and grandmother were desperate. They had no food left. Then her mother came up with a desperate plan. She cut Amma's hair short, dressed her in her late father's clothes. She wanted Amma to pretend to be a boy. Amma was terrified. If anyone found out, she would be killed. But to save her family, Amma agreed. The next day she became a boy. She went to a shop with her mother. The owner was an old friend. He immediately understood their situation. He took Amma in. After that, Amma learned to act like a boy. She spoke in a deep voice and copied how boys walked. But one day she was almost caught. A neighbor boy named Jack recognized her. He blackmailed her for money, or he would expose her secret. Just as Amma thought she would die, militants stormed the town. They began rounding up all young boys. Amma was taken too. They were brought to a school, but they were not taught to read or write. They were trained to become militants. Amma faced trouble in the very first class. Jack the blackmailer appeared, but he helped her hide her secret. Jack became her only friend. He knew Amma was a girl, but he kept her secret. The worst pain came soon. A militant named Hugo taught the boys how to clean themselves. He described private body parts, forced everyone to watch. Soon Hugo ordered Amma to demonstrate. She was terrified, but she had to take off her clothes and get into the tub. Her shy behavior made Hugo laugh. He said she acted like a girl. The other boys began to suspect her gender. The next day they surrounded her to find out the truth. They forced Amma to climb a tall tree. The boys laughed and teased her. Amma was so scared that she cried. Jack tried to protect her, but he was too weak to fight. Amma had no choice. She climbed slowly and carefully. She reached the top but was overcome with fear. She shouted for her mother. Her voice exposed her secret completely. Amma was brought to a trial. Many men watched from below. It was not a court. It was an execution ground. A woman was being punished nearby. She was buried alive. Her only crime was showing her face in public. The crowd rushed forward to stone her to death. Amma was next.